Did he make a miraculous shot? Yes. Has he ever done it before? You bet he has. Three. Got to do something, man.
What happens when a 25-year-old Michael Jordan, at the absolute peak of his powers, goes toe-to-toe with Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James Worthy, all in one game? What happens is simple. Basketball history gets rewritten, and the league realizes the crown is about to change hands. On December 20th, 1988, the Chicago Bulls faced off against the mighty Showtime Lakers, 3 Hall of Famers, one of the most iconic styles of play basketball has ever seen, and only one mission: remind the young blood who runs the NBA. But instead, Michael Jordan gave them a glimpse of the future, and it wasn't pretty. On that night in 1988, every NBA fan realized the same thing. At the same time, Jordan was destined to become the king of the league, sooner rather than later. In 1988, Jordan had already been the best player in the league for years. He was already an MVP. He was also a Defensive Player of the Year. And he was also the All-Star MVP, all in the same season. But even so, his Chicago Bulls had not yet taken the step that everyone knew they had to take. They had won their first playoff series the previous season in the MJ era, and they needed to prove against the best teams that they were ready to compete. What's more, Michael already had at his side the man who would be his Robin for the rest of his career, because the potential of sophomore Scottie Pippen was beginning to scare people. It's not like fans got to see Magic against Jordan very often. The Lakers and the Bulls, being in different conferences, only faced each other twice a year. So when they did, it was a big deal. Now, the Lakers were a much better team. They knew what it was like to be 5-time champions. They knew what it was like to build a dynasty from scratch. They knew what it took to go all the way. And that's why, in 1988, everyone knew they would have no problem dispatching the Bulls when they faced each other in the regular season. However, on December 20th, 1988, the moment of truth arrived. The Lakers came in with a record of 16 wins and 7 losses, off to a great start as usual. The Bulls, well, they were 12-10. It seemed like they still hadn't made that leap to become contenders, but that night, everything would change forever. In front of a packed Chicago stadium, Kareem and Bill Cartwright jumped for the ball when the ref tossed it in the air, and then the nerves were gone. It was time for MJ to prove that his time had come. Now, it didn't take him long to get going, because on one of the first plays of the game, he grabs the defensive rebound, then comes out in transition, and then finds Horace Grant on the cut. In addition to improving his playmaking, Jordan was beginning to master more aspects of the game at this stage of his career. He was learning to time his moves. He was showing a composure that he didn't have at the beginning of his career. And when MJ found his rhythm and his spot, it didn't matter if his defender was in his face. 10 seconds later, on the next trip, he proves it again. Those semi-transition situations became money 100% of the time when MJ developed his mid-range touch. Sometimes, it felt like he was even better off the dribble than in catch and shoot. But of course, Magic's Lakers weren't going to give up easily. The Bulls kept looking for Michael during the first few minutes of the game, but the reason was obvious. He was going to destroy Byron Scott. The ISO plays from the baseline were easy when Jordan's first step was unstoppable, and that allowed him to wreak havoc in the Lakers' paint on plays like this one. Besides, Jordan already knew that he had more attention from the defense than any other Bulls player. But the more time passed, the more he learned to take advantage of it. Look at this play. MJ gets the screen, goes to his left, and is immediately doubled. But at that moment, he gets in the air to find the open Bill Cartwright, who banks the layup. Or this other play, in which MJ plays with poor Byron Scott, to end up finding the wide-open Sam Vincent in the left corner. However, unlike other superstars, Jordan was a well-known beast on the defensive end of the court. His quick hands allowed him to steal a lot of possessions, which also allowed the Bulls to get out on transition. But if there was one thing that terrified any defense, it was seeing Jordan get hot from deep. You weren't used to the North Carolina shooting guard tearing you apart from beyond the arc. But if he added that offensive weapon on any given night, he became even more unstoppable. Especially if you left him wide open, as the Lakers did on this play. A three-pointer that, by the way, put the Bulls up 24-9 on the scoreboard. The only Laker who was showing up that night was Magic Johnson. And the truth is that he was carrying his team in one of the worst moments of their short season. But on the other side of the court, when Magic tried, he was unable to stop Jordan. Look how easily MJ leaves number 32 behind. Like I said before, his first step was simply unstoppable, and it was the key to him being the best driver in the entire NBA. So Magic reacted. It was normal to see the Lakers superstar throwing dimes, but when he wanted to, he was also an unstoppable scorer. In those phases of the game, Magic asked for the rock all the time in the low post, and when he got the ball, he went to work. Look at the skyhook he uses to finish this play while driving to his left. Simply incredible! Despite Jordan's domination in the first half, the game plan wasn't changing. MJ continued to help under the glass, which allowed him to bring the ball up at his own pace. But the Lakers again made the mistake of leaving him wide open at the top of the key, from where Jordan drained another three. Although Magic began to play more as a pass-first point guard, with plays like this one where he finds James Worthy in the paint, Michael always found an answer. Sometimes it was on defense, like that deflection that turned into 2 free throws after Michael Cooper's hard foul. But with this long two after a surprising step back, Magic knocked down the last basket of the first half. Yes, you heard right, a step back. And you heard it right, Magic Johnson. He was much more talented than young people think, right? At halftime, the showtime of the game had not been provided by the Showtime Lakers. It had been Jordan, with an unreal performance that allowed the Bulls to go into the locker room 10 points up. There was still a lot of work to be done. The Lakers were always an incredibly dangerous team. But at least the night at Chicago Stadium was going according to plan for the 1988 regular season MVP, Michael Jordan. Just as the second half began, Magic Johnson came out onto the court looking for blood. At times, he seemed to be emulating MJ, stealing possessions and getting out on the fast break. But Jordan would soon set the tone for his team again. Look at this play. He receives the ball at the post, far from the basket. Once again, he shows his composure, waiting for the right moment to attack. And when he finds it, it's just over. Michael goes from 0 to 100 in an instant and ends up banking a two-handed layup. Moments later, Jordan finds Sam Vincent again with a pass to the top of the key, which the guard finishes by knocking down the midi off the dribble. And as if mirroring each other, Vincent and MJ make the same play right after, although switching roles. Look how Jordan gets the space he wants to shoot by using his drive threat. Michael Cooper, one of the most talented defenders in the league, can't even jump to contest his shot. Jordan was still on fire, and Vincent kept finding him on every play. Again, against Cooper, MJ uses his composure. He waits for the moment, and then he knocks down another long two in the face of poor Michael Cooper, who doesn't know what to do anymore. Now, we have to give credit to the Lakers, because in that third quarter, they were making a great effort to come back. As always, orchestrated by Magic Johnson, who kept throwing dimes to everyone who cut to the paint. Yes, those were things only Magic knew how to do. And thanks to his playmaking, the Lakers managed to tie the game again during the final minutes of the third quarter. But while number 32 was organizing the Lakers' offense, Michael was organizing the Bulls. He always tried to make good decisions, and in transition, he was the best. Look at how he draws all the attention of the Lakers' defenders, terrified by a drive from Mike, and then decides to make a skip pass to John Paxson, who knocks down the three. It's a connection we saw again a few minutes later, when Jordan makes it look like he has eyes in the back of his head to find Paxson wide open on the perimeter again. Of course, the Bulls guard drills another three. With only 2.5 minutes left to play, the game was completely even. The third quarter had eclipsed Chicago's first half lead, and the fourth quarter had been an exchange of buckets that hadn't particularly benefited either team. But down to the wire, we know we'd see the best version of Michael Jordan. He drives to the hoop, dodging the Lakers' big men waiting for him in the paint, to finish with a layup that Michael makes look easy. Right after that, MJ gets a tremendously important steal that allows him to come out like a bolt of lightning in transition. And although he turns the ball over, luck smiles on him because the ball ends up in the hands of Craig Hodges for an easy two. However, one of the most incredible highlights of the game is yet to come. With less than half a minute left on the clock, Michael Jordan receives the ball in transition that allows him to run the open floor. His only obstacle between him and the hoop is James Worthy. And what does Jordan do? Well, he puts him on a poster that was in the bedrooms of thousands of teenagers around the world. With that incredible dunk, Jordan delivered the dagger to a team that had gone into Chicago Stadium as favorites that night, but that would end up returning empty-handed. Michael Jordan had done it again. With a performance of 42 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 4 steals, Michael Jordan made a statement that the entire NBA heard. The Lakers were a dynasty that had won 5 championships since drafting Magic Johnson in 1979. They were one of the best teams ever assembled, but that night, they couldn't stop a single player with one goal, to prove that times had changed. It took Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls 3 more seasons to overcome the next hurdle in their path, the Detroit Pistons. But when they did, no one else could stop them. Meanwhile, the Lakers were in the twilight of their dynasty. They were still a tremendously competitive team, but up-and-coming teams like Chicago were overtaking them on the right. Why? Because on that night of December 20th, 1988, Michael Jordan had proved that the NBA was his, that the legacy of veteran players didn't matter. He proved that the only thing that mattered was yet to come. And if he hadn't won that game against the Lakers that gave him the confidence to be his best, who knows if his career would have been the same. Now, are the Showtime Lakers the best team Michael Jordan ever faced? Or is it perhaps the Pistons? Perhaps the Charles Barkleys and Hakeem Rockets? Drop your pick in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. If you live for legendary breakdowns, epic rivalries, and the moments that made basketball history, subscribe to First 5 Hoops and join a community of real basketball fans. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.